Hey everybody, this is Colin G. Murphy and welcome to show 63 of Colin Podcast About Real Estate. I hope you're all feeling that Christmassy vibe. This is being published on December 23rd when I will be on my way to the Emerald Isle to Ireland to spend Christmas and New Year's with my family and my parents and my brother in our family home in Castleconnell in County Limerick, and I'm really looking forward to it. It has been incredibly 5.5 years since I've been back to Ireland, which is absolutely nuts. Literally, I lived in Ireland until I was about 22, 23, and always went back at least once per year and often multiple times per year. But since I've been spending so much time in Tampa, Florida in the last 5 years where we were living with my wife and two kids, we always journeyed back here to Spain instead of to Ireland. So we had this gap where I haven't been in such a long time. So when you're listening to this show, if it's between the 23rd of December and the 1st of January, I will be enjoying myself hopefully in Ireland. So I'm really looking forward to it. But in the meantime, I've got a great guest for you for this pre-Christmas show. His name is Henry Washington. He is an author, entrepreneur, and real estate investor with more than 70 rental units and dozens of house flips under his belt. But impressively, he's experienced all that success in just 4 years and is really a great example of what can be achieved in real estate with a bit of luck, a lot of focus, and just pure relentless dedication, just not giving up. And he did it, he wasn't starting at 21 or 22 and straight into it. He was working as a Walmart employee for many, many years. He was earning a good salary. He was a software engineer for Walmart, but he literally spent all his money every year. He's earning a 6-figure salary in Arkansas, so obviously you can live pretty well on that, but he was just spending everything on his lifestyle, on nice cars and all the rest of it. So we talk about the consequences of that and his switch to an investor mindset. After he got married, he tended to reorientated his priorities and his goals significantly after that, had a good influence in his life. And really good story. Talk about the obstacles he experienced and overcome during his first few deals, mistakes he made during the pandemic, his tips for getting great loan terms from local community banks. That's not something I've spoken about a lot, but local community banks are a fantastic source of loans, either for fix and flips or buy and holds. It was one of the first loans I got in the US as a non-US resident at the time, actually, where I switched a private loan to a community bank loan for, I think, a portfolio of 7 single-family homes, and it worked out really well. And we also just talk about the skills people should develop if they want to be successful, and the difference between having a mindset of, I'll try it and see how it goes, and a mindset is, I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to overcome the obstacles, and I'm going to get to this place as a real estate investor. There's a huge difference in those mindsets, one of which is much more likely to succeed than the other. So good story. Enjoy talking to Henry, and let's head over and hear what he has to say, and I'll catch you again on the other side of the show. Henry Washington, how are you doing, and welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. So tell us a bit about yourself, Henry. Where did you grow up? Did you come from a real estate or an entrepreneurial family?
You know what? I did come from an entrepreneurial family, but we never talked about it. It was never, my dad always had a side hustle. So he was a high school art teacher. That was his day job, but he always had a hustle. He used to grow plants at home, and then he would pot them and go to the swap meet and sell them.
Okay.
And then he owned an arcade back when you used to have to go to a place to play video games. And then he owned a barbecue restaurant for most of my childhood growing up. So
hardworking guy.
Yeah, man. And so for him, it was a means to supplement income so that he could do the things he enjoyed. Because teacher salaries aren't always the greatest.
No, that's for sure.
And so he talked about that. He always said hey, I work hard so that we can do the things that we want to do. But he never ever talked to me about one day you can have your own business, or always make your own income on the side. Those were never conversations. But it planted the seed, I believe, so that when it was time for me to think about alternative ways to make money. Like I didn't really have any fear of starting my own business, and I think that's because I saw my father do it. I knew it was possible.
Okay. And so did you like dive straight into real estate when you were a young man, early 20s, or did you go the kind of W-2 route for a while and kind of find it later?
Yeah, the latter, man. So I did the whole W-2 thing. Matter of fact, I just left my day job 6 months ago.
No
So
kidding.
yeah, man. And we've only been investing for 4 years.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, man. In terms of overall time, I'm still fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who've been doing this for decades. So no, man. So how how it all came to be
Well,
was
tell us first, what have you done in the last 4 years? Some people buy one house a year for 4 years, and they're
yeah.
understandably proud of that. Some people do more. What have you done in 4 years? Can you give us a quick summary to put it in context?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what's funny is my original goals when I first got into business, we had wrote just that we were going to buy a house a year for 5 to 10 years, and then supplement our retirement with it. And I think we did 5 deals in our first month. So
Okay.
yeah, no. So I probably buy 2 to 3 houses a month, maybe more. Just depends on the month. And we have 70 rentals right
Wow.
now, and we flip about 10 to 15 houses a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's, I mean, I'm just consistently marketing right now. I just kind of market for great deals. I keep the ones I love. I sell the rest. It's really
That's
all it is.
fantastic. 70
Nothing
rentals in four
magical.
years, 10 to 15 flips a year. That's a pretty good, that's pretty good going in 4 years.
Thank you.
So what was it like at the beginning? I mean, you said you did 5 deals in your first month. That, talk about hit the ground running. How did you figure that out so quickly?
Um, so yeah, what happened was um, my wife and I got married quick. So I met her, we went on our first date, and then 365 days after that first date, we got married, literally to the day, right? And
Oh,
so you go from talk about going from like a single man mindset to a married man mindset fairly
uh-huh.
quickly.
Yeah.
And so that was a bit of a transition. And what happened was, as a single person with no financial education, like I had a good job. I did software development for Walmart, which is largest employer in the country,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I 6-figure income, technology job. I was making great money, but I was also very, very good at spending all of it. And so I didn't
Okay.
have anything left over after a paycheck because I would spend it all. And when you're single and it's just you to worry about, all that's
Mm-hmm.
well and good. But when
Mm-hmm.
you get married, your wife doesn't like to have to eat off the dollar menu because you ran out of money. So,
Yep.
so that doesn't work out as well. And so I needed to find ways to do something different. What really two wake up calls for me were the house that we bought together when we first got married. When I
Mm-hmm.
tried to apply for the loan with my wife, the bank told me that they would be glad to loan to my wife, but they can't loan to me because my credit's so bad.
Wow.
And so
With a
I
six-figure
couldn't even,
salary
with a 6-figure salary
in Arkansas.
in Arkansas, right? So, that's a blow if you want to be a provider and a husband that you can't
Uh-huh.
even be a part of that loan. And so that was a kind of a blow to the system. Um, and then after we moved into that house, there was a night when we were having conversations that married couples have, like how many kids are we going to have, and
Mm-hmm.
what's our dream home going to look like? Where's our dream home going to be? And I'm just sitting here thinking while we're talking, like dream home, like we barely made it here. Like I don't know if we're going to get to the dream home anytime soon, right? And for lack of a better term, at 3 in the morning, I had a panic attack because I realized like I wasn't doing anything that I needed to do to take care of my family, to give them the life that they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did what any normal red-blooded person would do at 3 in the morning when you're panicking about money is you start to Google, how can I make more money?
Sure.
And and I just kept coming across articles about real estate investing and bigger pockets this and I was just like, what's all this real estate stuff? And then I ended up watching this TED talk, and it was called "How to Design Your Dream Life Through Passive Income."
Mhm.
And when you're having a panic attack about money and trying to figure out how to make extra, seeing something called "How to Design Your Dream Life Through Passive Income" is right what you're looking for, right?
Those TED
So
Talks can be very soothing. Yeah.
yeah. So I watched the TED talk, and it's this kid. He's 20 something years old, and he's got like 25 rental properties, and he's talking about how he's used that to get financially free. And I'm like, so regular people own real estate? I thought it was only like rich people or businesses or. And if this kid figured it out, I know I can figure it out. And so I just made a decision at 3 a.m. that I was going to figure out how to be an investor and buy property, even though I had no money and bad credit. Like, I was going to figure it out. I was like, if everybody else can figure it out, I can figure it out. And
Hmm.
so, kind of the long-winded answer to your question is, I hit the ground running because I made a decision, right?
Mm.
So I think a lot of people, when they want to get into this, they try it, right? They give it a go,
Sure.
right? And there's a difference between trying and deciding you're going to be good at it,
Yeah.
deciding you're going to figure it out, right? And so the first major step that I made was a mindset shift, in that I decided I was going to be good at this. And what that does in your brain is it helps you overcome obstacles as they come up, because you've already told your brain, we're going to figure this out. So there was no like hitting a wall and stopping. And I think when you just try, when things get hard, your brain's not trying to figure out how to get past those obstacles, because you really haven't decided you're going to do it. You're just seeing what it's like.
I love that. You're right. That's a totally different thing. I'm going to try it out and see if it's easy and see if it works. And if you're lucky, you might get a deal or two, but very quickly you'll run into obstacles. But if you say, no, I'm determined to make X amount of passive income by this date, no matter what, totally different mindset. And like you say, you can just charge through those obstacles.
Yeah, man. It's going to work or it's going to work. Those are my options. And so what I did from that point was I just immersed myself in everything real estate investment culture.
Hmm.
I found every meeting, meetup, club, group, whatever. If investors were in my area in a room, I got my butt in that room,
Hmm.
because I wanted the relationships and I wanted to see who's doing it, what are they doing, how are they doing it. Like, I just wanted to be in the room. Like, I didn't care what they were talking about. Like, just get me in the room. And what that did was, what I didn't know at the time was that investors are just this special group of people, and they're always super helpful to each other, and they want to see each other succeed. Like, I
Mm.
wasn't expecting any of that. I just wanted to get in the room and see what people were doing.
Yeah.
But then I found this group of people who were like, "Hey, man, come on, let me show you how to do this." And then I started to pick up all these tips, tricks, relationships. I met lenders, I met contractors, I met bankers, and you start to piece all these puzzle pieces together, and you make a picture, right? And
Hmm.
so um, I also, I mean, books, podcasts, like literally anything I can get my hands on,
Right.
I was absorbing it, right? So I just had all this knowledge coming in, and even though I didn't quite know where it all fit in, I was still shoving it in my brain,
What
and I
did your
figured I'd
wife
piece
think
it all
about this new obsession at the time?
together.
All for it, or was she skeptical
She
until?
was good, man. She never questioned it. She was with me, man. We read Rich Dad
Awesome.
Poor Dad together, and The Richest Man in Babylon together, and it kind of helped change our mindset at the same time. So I didn't have the obstacle of getting her on board. I know
Great.
some people do, but we were in there, man.
That's awesome. So talk us through your first couple of deals, what they look like.
Yeah, man. So first deal came as a result of that mindset shift. So part of that mindset shift I talked about
Hmm.
was uh, decide you're going to be good at it. And then I decided, okay, well, if I'm going to be an investor, then that's just what I need to tell people I am. Even though I'd never done a deal, didn't know how I was going to do a deal, had bad credit, didn't have any money to close on a deal. I was like, if I don't believe I'm an investor, nobody else is going to believe it. So I
Hmm.
just started telling people I was an investor. So when I would meet people, especially at these meetings, when people ask you what you do, I say, I'm Henry, I'm a real estate investor and I work for Walmart, right? I made sure I put the real estate investor first because I want to put that out there. That's who I am. That's what I want to be. That's what I want you to see me as, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because I started doing that, word would get around, and one of my good friends called me out of the blue one day and was like, "Hey, man, I heard you're buying rental properties now," and I was like, "Yeah." I'd never bought anything. Didn't know how to buy anything. Didn't even know how the process works. I was like, "Yeah, man,"
That's
and he
me.
was like, "I'm the guy." Yeah, and then he was like, "I've got a house." And I've got a tenant living in it. I used to live there. I've got a tenant living in it, and he's just covering the mortgage. He was like, but I let him live there because I was living on campus at my church, so I could save up money because I have to buy this land from the church, and I have to buy it now. He was like, but I gotta sell this house to buy it, and this guy's living in there. He's not taking care of it. He's barely covering the mortgage. I need to sell it in 30 days. If you can buy it in 30 days, I'll sell it to you for 115, even though it's worth 150. And I was like, yep, gotcha. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm your guy. I had no idea how to do it, but I told him I was going to do it. Right. And so I ran the numbers worked. And then I was like, cool, now I got to figure out how to come up with $19,000 because the bank said you need $20,000 down, and I had one. So $19,000 in less than 30 days. How am I going to figure that out? But because I had surrounded myself with all the other investors and
Mm-hmm.
created this network of people, I had people to turn to say, hey, how the heck are you guys doing this? Right? Here's my situation. Here's my deal.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get to the closing table? And so a good buddy of mine he's a good buddy of mine now, then he was just another investor I was working with. He helped me brainstorm. And really, he kind of gave me the first lesson because I couldn't figure it out how to get to the money, but I told my friend I would buy it. And so I knew I had to get the deal closed, whether I did or not. So I called my buddy and said, hey, look, I can't figure out how to find this money, but can you close on it? Because we got to help him out. And he said, dude, this is a good deal and I will buy it. He was like, but if you're ever going to be good at this, like you said, then you got to figure it out. He was like, you have to figure it out.
Yep.
And that was that first entrepreneurial lesson where it was like, hey, now you really hit a real wall and you can't figure it out. You got to figure out how to push through it. And so we ended up brainstorming and we came up with a 401k loan. And so
From him?
No. So I didn't have a 401k because remember, I was bad with money.
Yep.
But my wife did. Mm-hmm. So I went to her and said, hey, I found the money. It's in your 401k.
You're a brave man.
And she was good with it, man. She didn't even hesitate. She was like, come on, let's do it. And so we pulled the 19 grand from her 401k, basically being your own bank because you pay it back to yourself with interest, but it's your interest. It goes back to you. Yep. And we were buying a great deal. And so I wasn't worried that we were buying, because if you're going to leverage something like a 401k, you don't want to buy a bad deal because now you got to pay back your 401k and you're stuck in this bad deal. Yep. Right. But we knew we were buying it. We knew worst case scenario, we could sell it for more than we were buying it for as it sat. So we were comfortable doing it. We bought it. We talked to the tenant in there. We raised his rents to market rents. And we started cash flowing immediately. And dude, man, that was a big wake-up call for me because
So did you manage to sell it for 150 or did you just keep it as a rental?
I kept it as a rental for about a year and a half, and then we sold it for 175.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but during that year and a half, I also took out a line of credit on the equity that I had in the house.
Oh, nice.
And I used that. It was about 25 grand, and I used that 25 grand to buy flips and sell them and buy properties and burr out of them. And so I probably bought 10 to 12 doors just off of that one line of credit from that one house. So that first house really propelled me into the industry.
That's great. And what were the prices of the houses you were buying in that year and a half? Were they very low priced deals?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So a typical starter home ARV in my area now, even in the crazy inflated market, three bed, two bath, 1,500 square foot starter home is going to run you anywhere from 175 to 225
Mm-hmm.
right now. And so back then it was even less. And so, yeah, we were buying homes anywhere between 50 to 120,000. Was
But
about
how
the
were you
general
funding the
range.
purchases? Because you didn't have 120,000. Was there a bank involved somewhere, or a private money lender?
Yeah, no, I've always used, and I teach people to use small local banks to fund their
Okay.
real estate deals. Commercial loans from small local banks is how I was doing it. It's how I still do it. And so they were, at that time, they were wanting about 15% down on a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started to grow my portfolio and started to work on fostering the relationships with the banks that I was working with,
Mm-hmm.
I started to ask them for better and better financing because I had a model that proved that I could bring in really good priced under market value deals, and then I could monetize them. Right, I wasn't losing money; I was making money every time, whether I'm flipping or I'm renting. And these small local banks need business from small local businesses. That's how they make their money. They're not making their money on the 30-year fixed rate, first time home buyer mortgages. The big
Okay.
banks do that. That's what they
What
make
kind of
money. The
loans are
small.
they giving you, or like these multiple loans? What are the broad terms? I mean,
Yep.
in the earlier
They're
days or now, whatever you prefer.
still now they're commercial loans. And so it is typically a 20 amortized over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they finance 85% of the purchase price, and they finance 100% of the renovation costs. So if I'm buying a house for 100 grand and it needs 20 grand worth of work, they'll finance 85,000 because that's 85% of the purchase, and they'll finance all 20,000 of the renovation.
Mm-hmm.
So all I got to bring is 15% down. And what I've done over the course of the relationships is leverage the relationships that I have and leverage that I have multiple banks that I can use. And so now I've got it to where as long as what I'm buying and what I need to renovate lands under 75% of the ARV, then I don't have to bring anything to the table. And so if I'm buying a
Wow,
house for 100 and it needs 20,000, but that house ARVs for 220, I don't have to bring anything.
that's amazing. So why are more people now using these small banks? They're fantastic terms, better than you get from a hard money lender, and presumably the terms are better as
Better.
well.
A lot of people just don't know about them, right? And so that's what I educate my students on. I have a book on it. I have courses on it. A lot of people just don't know that that's an option to them, that you can use commercial loans for residential investment properties.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenal tool to use. Now, yes, you need a decent credit score. And yes, you're going to have to start out with some down payment money. Typically, a brand new bank's not going to meet you off the street and say, "Hey, here's 100% financing." You have to foster that relationship, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still pretty favorable terms, especially if you're comparing it to hard money.
Yeah. And what do you do when you want to keep them? Are you refinancing them once they're renovated?
Yeah, no, you can, yes, but I typically the loan is a 3 to 5 year adjustable rate.
Mm-hmm.
So the rate will adjust in 3 to 5 years, but the loan doesn't come due. It's not a balloon.
Oh,
So
good.
so I'll keep them in the loan as long as the rates are decent. If the rates skyrocket, and they'll go up before I have a adjustable rate period, then I can look at refinancing that into something more long term.
What is the term? Is it a 10-year loan? 7-year
20
loan?
year, 20-year amortized, 20 to 25-year amortized.
And the term is the same as the amortization? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then, yeah, you can hold on to them for quite a long time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So how do you decide, what properties you're going to flip and what properties you're going to hold on to? It seems like you're holding on to most of them. If you've got 70 and you're flipping 10 or 15 a year.
Yeah. So for me, and what I teach my students is, so there's not a answer related to the property that tells me whether I'm going to keep or I'm going to flip it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned when I was immersing myself in this real estate culture was that every meeting I went to, everybody kept saying, I'm an investor, but it's hard to find deals. You can't find any deals right now. There's no deals out there. And they were saying this before the market was hot like this. So they're really saying it
Yeah, that's an old record. Yeah.
now. Right, right. There's just no deals. You can't find any deals. And so I said, all right, well, that can't be true because people are buying real estate every day across the country, investors and other people alike. So it just must mean that they haven't figured out how.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can figure out how to find great deals, I'll always have rooms full of people who want to buy them. And so I didn't start looking for property as I'm going to buy rentals. I just started looking for good deals. And so that's how I built my business. I basically operate like a wholesaler, except I just decide what I want to do with every deal. I'm marketing consistently, nonstop, every month. That brings in leads. Those leads bring in deals. And then I let my financial situation decide what I'm going to do, right? If I need cash now, I'll flip it quick. If I don't have the contractors to work on it, I'll flip it quick. If I'm cash flush and I've got contractors ready to go, then I'll take the strategy that's going to net me the most money, even though it'll take more time, right? I just let my situation dictate what I do, and I sell the rest.
Okay. And so do you have any insights into how you went about being a guy that was very good at finding deals instead of a guy that complains about not being able to find deals? What did you
do? Yeah. Yeah, man. So what I think it did, and what I teach people to do, because it's what helped me, is because I walked in those rooms and saw that as the problem, like that became my focus. And looking back, what that did for me was it put the blinders on, because real estate is this super flexible vehicle, right? There's a million different ways you can go to make money. There's a million different ways you can get lending. There's a million different contracts. There's all these pieces that you can focus on. And all I was focused on was, what does a good deal look like in my area? What does a good deal look like in my area? What does a good deal look like in my area? Okay, great. I know what they look like now. How do I go find them? And then I just consistently go find. That's all I was worried about. I wasn't worried about contractors or banks or anything else that comes after you find the deal. All I was worried about was get the deal, get the deal, get the deal. If you get the deal, you'll be able to get out of it. You can sell it to somebody, or you'll be so motivated to figure out the rest because you got a good deal on the line.
Yes.
That process will become easier. And so that's what I tell people to focus on. If you're brand new, my advice to you is to put the blinders on, right? Because there's so much out there. And everybody wants to know, okay, I want to go get a deal, but once I get a deal, who's going to be my title company? Who's going to be my contractor? Who's going to be my bank? Who's going to be my hard money lender, right? And they're trying to put all these pieces in place before they have a deal. But none of that stuff matters unless you have a deal, right? Like who cares who your contractor is going to be if you don't have a deal for them to work on, right?
Contractors certainly don't care,
Right, right. And what I also learned was, like, it's so much easier to line those pieces up once you have a deal on the line, because now you're talking money with people. You're not just talking hypotheticals, right? You've got the deal on the hook. And so put the blinders on, learn what a good deal looks like in your market. And then once you figure that out, go find the strategy that you're going to employ to help you find those deals. I don't care if it's mail, cold calls, text messages, voicemails, knocking on doors, right? Using the MLS, whatever that strategy is for you, figure it out. And I tell people the best way to do that is pick the strategy that fits your budget and fits your personality the best, right? Because all of these strategies on some level take some amount of money. And if you don't fund them properly, you're just throwing money down the drain, right? You can't spend $500 a month on direct mail and expect it to work, right? Figure out what the budget is you need for that marketing tool. And if you can't afford to fund it properly, then pick a different one, right? So make sure you can fund it properly, and then make sure it fits your personality. I'm not a cold caller. Like, that's just not my skill set. I don't like it. It's not fun. I know this about me. And sure, some of the gurus will tell you, suck it up, make the calls, it works. Yeah, but as soon as I make the calls and I get frustrated, I don't end up making enough calls. And then if you're not going to make enough calls, then you're wasting your time anyway. And so I know that doesn't fit me, my personality. Direct mail is great for me. I love it. It works and it fits my personality. And so I employ direct mail because I can afford to fund it properly and I enjoy doing it. And if you enjoy doing it, you're going to do more of it. And so that's kind of what I focus on.
That's awesome. How many letters do you think you need to send on average to get a deal?
It honestly depends on your market. I've got students all over the country, and some can send 1,000 pieces of mail a month and get a bunch of deals, and some have to send like 5,000. So I would say typically I would average that out and say you need to be sending 2,000 to 2,500 a month to source a deal out of one campaign.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you've learned a lot in the last 3-4 years. Are there any other kind of fundamental lessons that you can share with us apart from those good nuggets you've just given?
Man, I think I've covered them all, but it's about like this. You have to be willing to do what most people are not, and that includes most investors, right? And the people who are successful are the ones who are willing to be just relentlessly consistent in their pursuit of success. Like it's not rocket science. It's not that I figured out some secret sauce more than somebody else has. People have been doing this business for decades. Like how you do it is clear. It's out there. You can find out how you can do it for free. You can pay somebody to teach you, but it's all the same information. The people who are successful are the ones who are relentlessly consistent. They pick their niche, they pick what they're good at, and they just hammer it nonstop. No matter if it's going well, going poorly, they know this works and they just keep at it. And when the market's this hot, those are the people who are winning right now because there's less deals for people right now, right? Because typically a seller is going to sell under market value because they have a reason to. But when the market's so hot, some of those sellers are like, I can throw it on the market and see what happens. And then they get like 15 offers, right? Like before, when they throw a distressed property on the market, it might take months and months before somebody throws them a decent offer. But now people are throwing money at bad properties on the market. And so there's less people willing to sell to investors. And so if there's less people willing to sell to investors, who do you think's landing those investor deals? The people who are relentlessly consistent. That's it, man.
That's good advice. Some words of wisdom. And did you change anything? I'm curious during the pandemic, the way you market or the way your attitude to buyers and sellers. Did anything change?
I did, and I wish I hadn't.
I just slowed down.
No, I didn't. So I didn't slow down the marketing. I just got really strict on my offers because no one knew what the market was. No one knew the market was going to go crazy, right?
I certainly didn't. Yeah.
Everyone thought it was going to do the opposite, and so I got real strict on my offers. I wouldn't bend. I had to buy at my price point, or I wasn't buying because I didn't want to be stuck with a property that wasn't worth what I paid for it in a few months, right? And so I was overly cautious on my offers, and then boom, the market went nuts, and I wish I'd have bought everything I made an offer on.
Yeah, I made exactly the same mistake. Like normally I might buy that ugly house or the one that's a little bit bigger than average, but now I'm like, no, it has to check all the boxes. I don't want any outliers. And I'm not, I'm increasing my contingencies. I'm not decreasing them. Just when prices are going up, but I'm not assuming they're going up. I'm almost assuming prices were going down by 5%. So even if it's worth 200 now, I'm thinking I'm going to buy it only if I can make money when I sell it for 190, and it actually went to 220. So
I remember I put a property under contract in February. And then March, everything went crazy, and I hadn't closed on it yet. And I was like, here's the first deal I'm going to lose money on because I'm going to buy it. I got to stay true to my word. I told the lady I'd buy it, but I don't think it's going to be worth what I paid for it in a month or so with everything that's going on. And I remember I sold that thing for like a $75,000 profit a few months later, and I was like, oh, all right, well, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, no, you're dead right. That's and that's it. Like real estate goes up and it goes down. There's market cycles, and you're always going to have problems. I mean, what other skills can you think of that people need to train themselves in to give themselves that best possible chance of riding through all the storms, enjoying the sunshine, getting through the rain?
Yeah. So I would say the one thing that I didn't educate myself on very well before getting started, and I know I just talked about, only focus on finding the deal, which I still think is what you need to focus on. But understand, once you get that deal, you need to put some focus on figuring out how to find and work with good contractors, because a contractor can make or break your deal. And if that's not something you're naturally good at or naturally understand, like I had no construction background. And so I made a lot of mistakes on the contractor side that ended up costing me a lot of money. And it still remains the most difficult part of this business, because you're totally reliant on some other company to get your property to force the appreciation. That's what we do, right? We buy under value, we force appreciation, and then we sell above value, right? Or rent above value. And so you've got to have somebody who can do that. And there's a lot of tips and tricks you can focus on when working with contractors. But I did all the mistakes, man. I paid people, more than half of the project up front because they wanted a 50% down payment, right? And then where'd it go, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, once you get that deal process going, start thinking about contractors and how you're going to find and work with good contractors, because they can take a good deal and make it a bad deal.
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah, building out that team is important, and contractors make or break a deal, and so can property managers, by the way, with you have enough rentals. So listen, a lot of good wisdom in here. And before we wrap up, Henry, I mean, you've done a lot in 4 years, 5 years. What's the next 4 or 5 years? How big do you want to get? Where do you want to be? It sounds like you've kind of got that financial freedom. I mean, you want to keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger and see where it goes, or what's the future looking like?
Dude, I've had so many opportunities come my way as a result of this investment business. And I know I'm supposed to have some big, sexy answer for this question. People ask me all the time, and I just don't have one. For me, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep marketing. I've got a money machine. Man. Like, I pay money up front in marketing, and it produces 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x that on the backside when I dispose the deals. And so, like, why am I going to turn that off? Well, I don't plan on turning that off. I'll turn it off when God tells me, all right, you're done. So I'm just going to keep going, man. And if I get to, 500 doors, great. If I get to 200 doors, great. If I get to, 71 doors, great. It's all good, man.
That's awesome. I've really enjoyed listening to this, and I really enjoyed your story. And, keep a close eye on where you're going the next few years. And if people want to reach out to you directly and learn a bit more, how can they do that?
Best place is Instagram. I'm at the Henry Washington on Instagram. You can shoot me a direct message there, and I'll see what I can do for you.
At the Henry Washington. I will get that on the show notes. Henry, thanks again for joining the show.
Thank you, sir.
There you have it, folks. That was show 63 with Henry Washington. I hope you enjoyed listening to his story. I thought it was a good one, and goes to show, like I said at the top of the show, how much can be achieved in a relatively short period of time if you have that focus, determination, and a bit of luck. Because Henry didn't come at it with loads of money or loads of opportunities or a real estate background or rich uncles or anything like that. Didn't have much money at all. Had to borrow money from his wife's pension fund to fund his first flip. Had to make a tremendous flip and mindset on how to save and invest money instead of spending money, and really made the most of it. He's achieved a lot in a few years, and obviously has gone on to bigger and better things, and has written books about it and is teaching others about it. And he's got a very popular Instagram and TikTok following if you want to check him out at the Henry Washington. And I appreciate him coming on and sharing that with us. And Yeah, just some final thoughts. I guess this is the last podcast of 2021. Thank you to all of you who have followed me during this year. It's been a topsy-turvy year for everybody, with obviously COVID still lingering on and its impacts on our lives, our vacations, our economy, our businesses. Those of us who are involved in real estate should be very grateful that real estate in general, particularly US real estate, has done so well. It's been so buoyant due to a large number of factors, low interest rates, the Fed pumping money into the economy, printing dollars, lack of demand, lack of supply, increased demand, huge range of factors, people leaving densely populated urban areas to move to more and more suburban areas, a flight from densely populated, expensive northeastern areas of the US into places like Florida drove prices higher and higher to up to 20% appreciation in a year. It's just incredible. As to next year, I generally do see that continuing, not as fast. I don't see another year of 20%, but I do see another year of price appreciation of 6 to 10% certainly, which in any other year would be a breakout tremendous year. So I do see another strong year with inventory continuing to be difficult to secure. And if you are in the fix and flip or wholesaling game, you do need to be careful that you're not getting too ambitious with your after repair value comps. You do have to keep them a little bit attached to reality as much as you can. And other than that, we're at Christmas time now. It's generally a time to, spend time with your family, to try and disconnect a little bit from work. I know that's easier said than done, but I certainly do try and do it, and I encourage everybody to try and do that, and just spend a little bit of time reflecting on what you're grateful for. I mean, a lot of us have had a tough year. A lot of us have plenty to complain about or moan about. But it's often more productive to reflect on what you're grateful for, whether that's friends, family, your health, opportunities you've had, the successes you've had during the year. It's worth spending time thinking about that, especially at Christmas, but really any time at all during the year is a good time to reflect on what you're grateful for. It does put you in a more positive mindset, which in turn will enable you to achieve more things in less time. And people are often very hard on themselves for falling short of where they want it to be at a specific time or a specific age. But you should also reflect on what you've accomplished and what you've done in the last year, what you've done in the last 2 years. Think of the specifics of how you've moved forward, how you've changed and improved as a person in the last couple of years, and compare yourself to that rather than where you want it to be. So I think it's if you want to Google it, it's called The Gap and the Gain. It's part of the Strategic Coach Mastermind program, and it's correct. I mean, I agree with it. So, give yourself a pat on the back for getting through another year, and reflect on where you've come in the last 2 years, and reflect on everything you've survived in the last 2 years, and then plan, where you want to be this time next year, the year after, in 5 years' time. Get your spouse involved as well so that you're on the same page, and just give it a go. Be brave and give it a go. And real estate is a great way of achieving many goals. It's certainly not the only way. There's lots of things you can do to be a success, whether that's financially, spiritually, or otherwise. So I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. As I said at the top of the show, I'm planning to spend mine in Ireland this year. I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully there won't be too many restrictions. I am looking forward to catching up with some old friends. And if I have any Irish listeners out there that are in the kind of Limerick or Galway area over Christmas and you want to meet for a quick coffee, you can try me. You can try and send an email to info@colininvestments.com. If I'm around, maybe I can meet you, but no promises. But if you're there and I have time, I'm happy to sit down and have a chat. But otherwise, just check out the website, and you got reports. We got all the other podcasts. You can schedule time to talk with me on the phone or on Zoom. And but otherwise, I'll catch you again in the new year, guys. 2022 with a new show. But until then, happy Christmas, happy New Year. Take care, and see you soon. Bye bye.